Okay, we knew that Australian English voice was going to come in there at any minute now.
Everybody's a little slow on the mute button today, so it's all good. Just see Sister Eris Tunstall coming on. I believe Eris is coming on for Yaz, just to give greetings for Yaz.
We got Sereno and Nina, yeah.
I'm not seeing them. Not yet.
Well, you know what I'm saying? I think we go ahead and start the process and let them plug in. Yeah, I just don't want to hold up anybody's time.
I'm with you on that.
Okay. And so, good morning, everyone. And this is a little different process. Usually we come on, come on, guys. Yeah, there we go. Usually we come on with a spiel, talking about themes and things that matter to a number of communities, diverse and otherwise, through our community and throughout our county. Today, we want to sort of just look back on the year and review. A lot of things have happened, day to day, hour to hour, month to month. And I thought it would be important to just sort of put some of this stuff in context and not look to have a conversation with everybody in the world, have a conversation with some thoughtful and purposeful folks who had something meaningful to share. And so I've asked Sam and his colleagues from, we have asked Sam and his colleagues from the Mercer County Commission to come and talk about Mercer County in review and what they've seen. I mean, on a number of levels, we've seen at the national level, the election of Joe Biden, the January 6th resurrection, voting rights on stall and on hold, $1 million space flights that have 4 and 5 people on them, COVID-19 running rampant, not only in states, but around the world. We've had county elections. Sam just got reelected with 2 new folks. We see what's going on in our city between our council and our mayor. We see school shootings close to home. And so there's so much happening, and we're engaged and we're engulfed. And everyday life in the modern world is not what it used to be. I mean, I see Phil, when he first came on, Phil talked about something that his dad said, you know, and Sam and I oftentimes talk about mom and them. That doesn't include Janine, but includes grands and those, you know, a whole lot of folks. And so what we're trying to do is just have a discussion, you know, not try to solve the world's problem, but just look back and see, are there some indicators? Are there some things as we move forward into 2022 that might be helpful, that allow us to go down this road less traveled, this road many times traveled, or just be awoke as individuals and folks who want to make a difference in the world that we find ourselves. And so with that, Sam, what's your take on what you've seen from your position as the ranking African-American in the county, looking at serving all county citizens, and then maybe give us a thought on how that may impact folks who look like me and you. Take your mute button off.
See, I told you everybody was having a problem with that mute button this morning. A little slow on that. Thank you, JB. And once again, you know, our condolences on your loss, brother. You know how we feel about you and how we feel about the good doctor. And it was interesting, as I was there with you in Denver last week, I was thinking of her words, you know, what does social equity look like? And we don't know what it actually looks like because we've never seen it, right? And so we are building this, we're building this plane as we fly it. And part of the struggle, what I see is there is a large gap between what the diverse community, white folks and other folks in our communities understand as the Black issue, right? And so they don't readily understand the economics of a community like Trenton, which they also don't understand the social aspects of communities like Trenton and Bromley and Hamilton and other places. And so when you begin to look at the struggles that we see, we are going to need to impact our struggles in an economic way, in a political way, in an educational way, right? And so, a lot of people talk about education being the great equalizer. Well, education is only the great equalizer when it translates to economic power, right? Been telling young people, because there's some young people that are like, I'm not sure I want to go to college right away. Well, college is not the end all to be all. College is only a vehicle to allowing us to have some economic freedom. And if it doesn't lead to economic freedom, then it's a piece of paper. And so what we have to begin to do is to recognize that we need to have some political power, but we also need to continue down the educational road. But none of those do anything for us if it doesn't begin to translate into economic power, if it doesn't begin to translate into folks who want to own cannabis businesses or people who want to own construction companies, actually getting contracts from government agencies and being able to go out there and exert some freedom in these particular areas. So, we saw several things change this year, but did they change our economic plight? Like the fact that the governor signed into law, and these are all good things. The governor signed into law the fact that we would no longer be called freeholders, that we would be called commissioners, because freeholder is at its base a racist and misogynistic term. We saw that they signed into law restorative justice, which hopefully will equate into some economic power and economic equity for young people of color in most of our major cities here in the state of New Jersey. But until it does that, we have not seen what this justice system will do for us and how the equity will come through in that particular area. So for me, I'm always pushing the economic line, because I recognize that this fight has been with us for a long time. We've been in this fight for a long time, but until we see some economic justice, it's going to be a struggle. And I'll leave you with this. Mom and I have started reading this book. We've been doing the audio book, which sheds a lot of light on some things, called The Color of Money. And anybody who has not, read that book or gotten that book, you need to get that book, because it talks about how inequitable the system is to Black folks. Black banks we thought that was going to be the answer years ago, that we would engage in Black banks, and Black banks would pull the Black community out of where it was. But they recognized that Black banks didn't have enough power, and there were other political impediments that were knocking us off of the pedestal as soon as we started to get some footing on ground. So we've got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of educating of ourselves to do. But until we begin to gain economic power and economic equity, we're going to be in the same spot until we begin to fix that.
That's a very interesting thumbnail, Sam, because, going into 2022, with the Black Lives Matter issues having come forward, with the pandemic having come forward, with the American Rescue Plan putting unbelievable amounts of money into cities, i.e. municipalities and counties and states around the country, and trying to create bridges for small business development. And so I think that, being able to acknowledge that, and we're going to hear from Phil later on about some of the success, maybe some of the challenges and the choices that we have to make in that area. But I think it's very interesting that you saw the economic development piece and the wealth piece as a major play in a state that has its issues relative to that. And so while, and let's just talk politics for a minute, the state just lost its most powerful Anglo legislator to be replaced by another Anglo legislator in the Senate, Nicholas Scutari. What does that mean in terms of an agenda for Black citizens, Black issues, Black concerns from your perspective going forward? Because I think Phil Murphy's there, but Phil Murphy got the same message that Gavin Newsom got, that Terry McAuliffe got, who became a casualty. Well, Phil Murphy wasn't a casualty. And it's folks like you and your mom and others that helped him stay in that position. Not that we're owed anything, but how do we put forward an agenda taking into consideration some of the things that you just said about economic development and wealth? With a new Senate leader, a returning governor who, like Joe Biden and others, depending on the Black vote, the urban vote, to return to power. Any thoughts about how we can, using our hindsight, right, and looking at our insight, our current scenario, and then having some foresight about what we do next? Any thoughts there?
So you said we're not owed anything, and I'm going to disagree a little bit because we are owed something.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
When you look at the work that we've done in the camps of these people, typically we are the margin for white elected officials that want to do the right thing, might not know how to do the right thing, but at least want to be in office so that they can attempt to do the right thing. Many times we are the margin. And we have to recognize that, and they have to recognize that. What I will give this governor credit for is he recognized that. Even when he wasn't getting the type of push or response that he wanted in Black and brown communities across the state, he did not stop, one, flooding our communities with money, making sure that people of color were the people that were getting the opportunities in jobs in order to make sure that we got out to vote. He was pressing on that particular side of the ball. And so we have to recognize that we are owed because we are many times the margin for them getting into office. But we also have to recognize we have a responsibility to show up when they do that, right? I mean, you and I have had the conversation, Mom and I have had the conversation. You know, Chris Christie took a position when he was running for governor that for Black folks, we weren't his base. So he didn't care a whole lot about us. He wasn't going to spend time in our communities. He already said, I'm not going to campaign in your communities because you're not going to vote me out of office. And we didn't vote him out of office. And so he spent his time in his 8 years in office focusing on those people that voted for him and he thought were the ones that he was really supposed to be, that was his constituency. Well, this governor said, Governor Murphy said, no, we have some equity issues. We need to speak to all these different issues to make New Jersey a much fairer place. And we have a responsibility when somebody does that we've got to show up for them too. Because, you know, he pissed off a lot of folks, you know, that were Trump supporters. But he said, no, I'm going to stand with the folks that I stood with when I came to the party. And I'm going to continue to fight for them. But we got to make sure we show up. So we are owed something in that respect. But when we look at it, we have to make sure that we come to the table with an agenda. Part of our issue is that we come to the table with splintered agendas. And we don't get together as leadership. And then people at a political level are trying to decide, okay, who are we going to focus on? Or where are we going to touch? Because I've got 10 different Black leaders with 10 different agenda items, and some of them aren't for the people. Some of them are actually for them. You know, so we have to make sure that as leadership that we are calling people together and we're holding people accountable, not only at the elected level, but our Black leadership that says that we are going to you for a Black agenda. Well,
let me maybe clarify. You know, there's a number of years, not a number of years, because you ain't that much younger than me, but there's a number of years difference in our age, and so I have a tendency to take on the James Brown mantra. You know what I mean? I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door, I'll get it myself.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? So when I say they don't owe us anything, you know, if I'm in the room, I mean, I don't need to sit down and talk. I don't need to go through any of that. Mm-hmm. If I'm in the room, I know how to get it myself because success runs in my race. I come into the room with that mindset. And so I appreciate us having an opportunity to deal with that. And, you know, you talk about the governor. You know, the governor has a lot of advisors, And it's interesting the Secretary of State is African American. It's interesting that the Lieutenant Governor is African American. So he is getting good information. But I think that the information that he does, or the people that he trusts more than that, are people that he has long-standing relationships with. And one of the persons he has a long-standing relationship is one of our CCABC members, your mom, the top New Jersey lobbyist, and one of my great friends, Janine LaRue. Janine, this last year has been important. Are there 4 or 5 things from your perspective that you can share with us? One, for us to go, after we hear, but also that might allow us to be a little woker than we were coming into this conversation.
Yes, John, there are a few things, and good morning, everybody, and happy holidays. And John, I know that you don't have these events where you want folks to come on, everybody's giving their condolences to you, but you just know that you're in my heart and my prayers. And the one thing about you, and I learned a lot about your wife during the service, is that you two just focus on doing the work. And so it doesn't surprise me that the 1 week from the day of her homegoing that we're sitting here still doing the work, because that's how you guys roll. And thank you for that. Yeah, a lot of interesting things have happened over the past year with this administration, and some things that I think that this group might want to look out for moving forward in 2022. One of the things that we have a sister up in Essex County, Brittany Timberlake. She is an assemblywoman. She is bold. She is just a little bit older than a kid. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't even think Brittany is 30 yet. I don't think so. And she made a decision that all of these police killings that occur throughout the country, when a police kills a person, even if that individual was committing a crime and was being apprehended, that no longer should county prosecutors be the one to investigate that killing. It had to be bounced up to the Attorney General. That was huge. Everybody kept saying, there's no way in the world the legislature is going to say that every single killing in New Jersey, a police killing, will occur that way. And there's no way the governor would actually sign a bill. And a lot of people tried to get Brittany to back off of that. She got that bill through the legislature, folks. So we know right now in the state of New Jersey, anytime a police officer kills anyone, doesn't matter ethnicity, what the person was doing, whatever, there is going to be a second look at that issue to make sure that that kind of excessive force was necessary. And if it wasn't necessary, people will be brought to justice. That's one thing that happened under the radar, but it is the law. The other thing is, a lot of people didn't realize that when you go into prison years ago for, and we won't say for whatever reason, because it actually benefited certain groups of people, that if you were in prison or you came out and you're on parole, you lost your right to vote forever. And that was absolutely outrageous. And so we were able to get through the legislature in 2020 that people who are incarcerated, if they are out on parole, if they are out on probation, their right to vote has been restored. And that was tens of thousands of people put back on the voting rolls. We've got to make sure that, particularly in Mercer County, we begin to identify where these folks are and start bringing them into the process. Because unfortunately, once they got the right to vote, the pandemic hit, and we weren't able to really use that tool this year. The other thing, we have there's a task force, and I think that Phil Wolfer will be very interested in this if he doesn't know about it already. The governor set up a wealth disparity task force. And this task force will be working over the course of 2022 right into 2024. The report will be issued. I'm sitting on that task force. It is about closing the gap of wealth, the disparity of wealth in the state of New Jersey. And John always would tell us, Harmon would tell us what numbers are. It is undaunting how much poorer we are of our white counterparts. And we've got to close that gap. I'm going to close with three major issues that are before the legislature right now. And one has to do with Reproductive Freedom Act. That bill, we're trying to get that through the legislature on the governor's desk. The second is harm reduction. In Trenton, we actually have a good syringe exchange program. It is working. But one of the things that people don't realize, we have 6 of them in the state. They are all in Black communities. And all the folks who are using syringes are Black. So this bill is going to give the Department of Health the authority to put these programs throughout the state where there is a need. The last thing is same-day voter registration. That would really benefit folks in this state, in this county and in this city, Trenton, where people can just show up on election day and give their ID and register to vote and vote. It doesn't make sense that there is this crazy cutoff of when you can actually register to vote. If you're eligible to vote and you live in the place where you live, you should be able to vote. And we're thinking the governor will get that bill by the second week of January, signed into law. And John, we would ask that our folks here keep thinking about the redistricting, particularly as it is congressional. We want to make sure that whatever that map looks like, it protects our beloved Bonnie Watson Coleman, because she is a voice that we need down there in D.C., and that is being done as we speak. Thank you.
So, Janine, based on the last thing you said in terms of the redistricting, do you see an issue?
I don't really see an issue because people did show up and show out for the hearing to protect our congressional district. But we've got to remain vigilant, because I don't know if folks remember, before our district, where Bonnie was actually able to successfully run for Congress, before that district, the map was drawn, all of Trenton was not in this district. And folks tend to forget that 10 years ago, Rush Holt had a time getting reelected the last time he ran, because all of Trenton wasn't in the district. So we just have to pay attention to that. We do have Justice Wallace, who understands, he's a Black man, he understands the need to make sure that there are pockets throughout the state. There are only 2 districts, congressional districts in New Jersey, where more than likely a person of color can be elected. And that is up there in Essex County where Donald Payne is, and down here with Bonnie. But I think we're in good stead, but we've got to watch this process.
Okay, thank you so much. One of our CCAC, one of our Capital City Area Black Caucus members, John Harmon, who is the president and CEO, chief bottle washer, problem solver, researcher, data collector, on small business and business activity. And his background has gained him recognition at many levels and many rooms around the country and our state. And we asked John if he would come on and share today a little bit about a year in review from a small business, a Black business development perspective. And he came on with the strangest accent and said, "Man, I'm going to the islands. But I will send my most able and capable scunt boy there to help you out." And so his most able and capable and stable and creative public servant that he sent us as his chief operating officer, Phil Woolfolk, who all of us know as a man of great intelligence and great insight and aspirational information about what we could be doing and should be doing. So would y'all please welcome the Chief Operating Officer for the African American Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey, Brother Phil. Phil, welcome.
Thank you so much, John. Really great to be here. And I have to chime in on a couple of things that have been said before I get into my remarks. I think Commissioner Frisbee hit the nail on the head when he talks about the whole idea of economics. I think too oftentimes we get really bottled into the whole social side of it and entitlement programs and all that. And we miss out on the fact that, there are folks out there who are walking away with government contracts and, taxpayer money is being spent with everybody but us. And then Janine spoke about the Wealth Disparity Task Force. I had an opportunity to serve on the Stronger and Fairer Economy Committee in the Governor's Transition Team during this first term. And I'm happy to see that some of the things that were talked about then are really being moved forward a little bit now. With that, I'll kind of move into where the African American Chamber of Commerce has been over 2021 and what we look to do and accomplish in 2022. So during the pandemic, the African American Chamber of Commerce was involved as a resource partner with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. And in that role, what we basically were able to do is provide access to capital for African American businesses around the state, namely in the form of the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loans and the SBA Paycheck Protection Program loans, and also working to provide assistance with folks looking to receive grant funding through the New Jersey Economic Development Authority as well. One of the other things I'd like to share with this group that you may or may not be aware of is that there are about 141 chambers across the state of New Jersey. The African American Chamber of Commerce is the only chamber in the state that is an accredited chamber with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And we're the only African American Chamber of Commerce in the entire country that's accredited. What that means is that we've risen to a level of competence and a level of respect as it relates to how we handle our resources. And we've been able to capitalize on that in a number of ways. So during the pandemic, I would say we were able to save over 300 jobs. We were able to put probably $2 to $3 million on the street in the form of either the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan or the SBA Paycheck Protection Program loans, and serve as an intermediary for a number of companies and also some churches that were really having a difficult time reaching their banks to get the funding they needed to continue on. In addition to that, Commissioner Frisbee mentioned about government contracts. So over the last several years, there were really a lot of challenges for African American contractors to receive public contracts because they didn't have the ability to be bonded. So we were able to put together a small bond readiness program. We've had a number of cohorts go through that program and be able to be bonded. And as of this week, I think we're up to about $39.5 million in bonding capacity. That means African American owned businesses around the state have the capacity to deliver on state and other federal and government contracts. And so that's a real plus for the African American community in terms of capacity in general. One of the initiatives that we've worked on this year that we've had some success with is the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce and New Jersey Business and Industry Association have agreements with the African American Chamber of Commerce around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So what does that mean for us? What that means is that we're looking to push them and hold them accountable for adding more blacks to corporate boards, more blacks to senior management, C-suite positions, and also opening up procurement opportunities to ensure that they're spending more of their corporate dollars with African American owned businesses. And we've had some success with a number of blacks already being appointed to various boards and a number of opportunities where a number of blacks are receiving significant contracts from the corporate sector. We have a number of folks who are doing business with Turner Construction. We have a number of companies that now have contracts with Public Service, Electric and Gas. So we're making some significant progress on that front. In addition, to be able to improve and expand our capacity on the lending and access to capital and technical assistance front, we implemented and launched in April of this year the Equitable Small Business Initiative. And we raised about $4.4 million with our partners at New Jersey Community Capital. and we launched that program. We've had over 250 digital intakes, which means we have significant interest in folks gaining access to capital and technical assistance that we can provide to help them in areas of profitability, sustainability, and growth of their businesses. So to date, I think we've taken probably about 42 applications. We've closed on about 17 of those. And I think as of last night, we're at about 1.2 million of that 4.4 million on the streets in terms of those loans being closed. And in 2022, what we're looking to do is, when you look at areas of health, education, workforce development, and business, we're looking to be a strong player and impact in terms of community and economic development. So one of the ways we're going to be able to do that is we're making application to the U.S. Department of the Treasury to become a community development financial institution that will basically make us a non-depository bank and increase our capacity to do more in the area of lending. I've had several meetings over the last couple of days, and I'm pretty confident that $4.4 million that we raised to get the Equitable Small Business Initiative started will be just a drop in the bucket compared to what we'll be able to achieve as a community development financial institution. So that's probably it in a nutshell, John, in terms of what I see happening for us and what we've been able to accomplish over this past year. We still have an awful lot of work to do, but there are a lot of folks out there. I think Commissioner Frisbee mentioned it about folks who are on our side. They have a little trouble sometimes, and they make some enemies along the way supporting our cause, but we have to continue pushing. The other thing I'd say is, and this is a detriment and something that we have to try to collectively do something about, and that is the fact that there is money in poverty. And so when you look at the criminal justice system, you look at the welfare system, you look at all those systems and all the folks who are employed within those systems, the system itself is not looking to change that. That's something we have to change. And the way we change it is basically to come out on the other side and not be really in need of some of these systems and transition some of these systems into having those dollars go toward education and training. I think Commissioner Frisbee also mentioned not every child is going to go to college. I'm of the opinion that there are opportunities out there for our young people. They need to be exposed to those opportunities sooner rather than later. We have a gentleman that's a member of the chamber who is in the cybersecurity space. He has just partnered with a training organization to be able to provide cybersecurity training. Level 1 training in cybersecurity brings a compensation of about $65,000 a year. Level 2 brings about $90,000. And there is absolutely no reason at all why a high school student can't graduate from Trenton Central High School, get that training, and start a career in cybersecurity and be able to have a meaningful wage to take care of themselves and their families. You also have, when I was in school, we had, all of these different shops, right? You had wood shop, you had carpentry, you had plumbing, you had all these different things that you could be introduced to on the vocational side. And all of a sudden, all those machines and equipment were vacated from the school system. And now you have to graduate from high school and go to college to be introduced to the vocational side of things. I went to school with guys who graduated from high school and were already experts in auto body, went right out on the street, got a good job, and are either business owners or making really good money these days doing a trade that they learned in high school. So I won't get on that soapbox, but I will say that we fully anticipate 2022 to be a great year for the Chamber. We look forward to expanding the work that we've been doing in terms of financial literacy for families, working with the small business community to provide access to capital and the knowledge base and information they need to grow and prosper their businesses. So it's a pleasure being here. Great to see all of you. Thanks a lot for having me, John.
talented people who are doing great work. I mean, Brother Phil just gave us a scenario and even some indicators where we can do things immediately to make an impact. And we have commissioners, we have lobbyists, we have cannabis regulatory commissioners, we have bankers, we have folks. I mean, Mercer County is the most important county in New Jersey, and I'm not going to be apologetic about that. That's how I feel. It's the capital city. It's the most important county in New Jersey. What happens if we mobilize ourselves and really decide to be a force to reckon with? Number one. Number two, Phil, we're dealing with a Black Economic Opportunities Council in Colorado, and we have engaged corporate Colorado in a similar discussion that you're having with corporate New Jersey. And we're making sure that where there are opportunities and benefits that impact our community, that we're engaging the governor, business community, the chambers, our legislators, because this particular time, we're coming forward with more information about where we find ourselves than we've ever had access to. And we're coming forward with the data and the research that says that there are some disparities there that need to be dealt with. And so I applaud the work that the chamber is doing. Sam, I want to capture that message and put it back to something you and your mother talked about, and that is under the theme of gaining ground in the Black community. And that gaining ground in housing and education and healthcare and public safety and economic development are all parallel lenses, all parallel initiatives, all parallel opportunities for us to be able to going forward. And I think being able to have the economic development as a critical piece and a core for how we look at all those other things from a disparities perspective in New Jersey and in Mercer County, because I think it would be good for us to be able to know the state of Black Mercer County. It'd be good for us to know what that means going into 2022 as it relates to elections, as it relates to people who are going to make decisions and set public policy agendas for us. And so you have, as a leader there, a unique opportunity. But I wanted to raise that point because having brothers like Phil and others who are resources for you and being able to make a case for why this is an important to get an understanding of where the Black community is and should be going forward, especially as we come out of the pandemic, as we come out of disparities. This would be a great opportunity to say, okay, let's sit down and talk about how we go forward. And that's right up Gene Bowley's alley, because those are the types of things that he does or would like to see us do clearly as we go about moving this whole deal forward. And Phil is right. Think about what we just done, what was just happened in terms of the building of the new high school. Think about all those courses and opportunities that are going to be coming up out of there. Think about young folks who are looking for options in their life. And so I think that we have a real good opportunity, and I want to support whatever you do and whatever Phil does to bring this to a reality. And so being able to gain Black economic opportunity and being able to gain ground in our community should be a theme that I think we go forward with. So Phil, thank you so much for being able to bring that informational perspective to the table.
JB, before you move on.
Go, Sam.
Just very quickly, two things. One, want to bring greetings. My colleagues have texted me. They never got the link, and I apologize. That was my fault. I thought they had gotten it through an email, and that's my apology. But I want to say, Brother Woolfolk, because you hit it right on the head. And JB, you called the things that I was just thinking. It was really about right how we pull our Black talent together and people that are helping Black folks in this space. One of the things people have to realize and recognize is that elected officials are an access point, right? And so one of the things that Brother Woolfolk was talking about in terms of the bonding program, right? A couple of years ago, we created the very first set-aside program in Mercer County. So Mercer County actually has a set-aside program for minority businesses, women-owned businesses, small businesses, and veteran-owned businesses. But without the bonding capacity, right? We can set up the legislation, we can set up the process, but we end up missing out on it without incredible partners like the Black Chamber and Brother Woolfolk doing that type of work. When you look at what Brother Gene Bowie has been doing with our college and our vocational school, set up a program that was already there in the campuses, but as a partner said, okay, there's a disconnect by which how young Black men and young Black girls are actually becoming part of these programs with cybersecurity, jobs that they can leave, get a certificate in a year and a half, come out making $100,000 a year if they go through this particular program. Again, those things speak to the economic viability of our people. And the people who are elected, we are only access points sometimes to make sure that those who are partnering with us have access to the right things to get it to our folks. So we got to make sure that we are pulling this brain power together and beginning to have these conversations, because there are things that I know that Brother Woolfolk can help with, but I can't push it, but he can push it. He can make the connection. There are things that Brother Gene can make the connection on. There are things that Mom can make the connection on. Each and every one of us has a part to play in this, and we have to recognize that until we are communicating on a very different level, a much higher plane, we will not move our people forward, but we can move our people forward together.
Thank you, Sam.
Absolutely.
Brother Gene, they mentioned you a couple of times in this, and I think I see your smiling face on there. Is there anything you want to share?
So I first I want to acknowledge Brother Philip. Brother Phil, good to see your smiling face, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Listen, I happen not to be on my live because I'm I'm still in my pajamas. But anyway, I would like to say that
don't nobody care about you in your pajamas, man.
You know what? I've been sitting in my desk working all morning since about 6:30. So forgive me, but I really think that the work, Brother Philip, that you and Brother John are doing, especially about the bonding, we lose access to opportunity, so many of our business, because we can't get bonded. And so it's the little things that really make the difference. So I'm thrilled about that. A couple of more points, Brother Philip, that you may not be aware of is that automotive is back in a high school. We have a relationship with Mercer County College where it's called share time. So our students spend part of their time at the high school and part of their time at Mercer County Technical Schools acquiring these trades and these certifications. So it's important that students have choices. The mission district says that students will graduate prepared for success in their choice of college or career. They need to be exposed to more early. We've been doing a lot. A month ago, 600 members of the senior class actually had, over a period of days, one-to-one meetings and information sharing with Mercer County Community College. The college said it was the best attendance they had ever had. So there's a lot of things that are going on.
That's excellent.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that's going on, brother. But I would say that I went back to work for Henry J. Austin, so I let my membership in the chamber lapse, Brother Philip. But I was just trying to re-register my membership, because we have to support each other. And I could just, I was a part of one of the early groups, my consulting business, to meet with PSE&G, if you remember that, Brother Philip. There was only 10 Black companies or organizations at that table to get some of that work from PSE&G. So God bless you. And there is work going on.
So Gene.
Absolutely.
So Gene.
And actually, if I could, John, just to give just a word with regard to Gene and his presence. Gene also was one of the folks that worked with us in the arduous task of application for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce accreditation. It was no small feat. He played a role in that, and it just speaks to what Commissioner Frisbee was saying earlier. You know, collectively we're a powerhouse, and there's if we all ever get on the same page, there's absolutely no stopping us.
Yeah. Our
So Gene, before you go further, Gene,
yes, sir.
Gene, before you go further, can you give us, you know, because you're the educational person on the call for a minute, can you talk a little bit about what you saw happen this year from an educational perspective, year in review, without putting you on the spot? Are there a couple of important things that you might want to just share and review that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, so there's one thing that immediately comes to mind. We continue, the district continues to get new students, families that move here. So classroom ratios is critically important. We are in the midst of an effort to redistrict. We've got schools that are closed that have to be opened. You know, there's been conversations about, well, why can't we build new schools? For example, in the South Ward of the South section, I don't like to use ward because it reminds me of criminality, right? But the South section of the city, our schools are overcrowded. And so we're redistricting to open up schools that have been closed, and we can't get new schools until we fill the capacity of the schools that we have. So that's probably the most important thing on our agenda right now is our class size matters. The smaller the class size, the better opportunity for our children to get an education. And so, you know, one of the things that comes up is that we have over 40 brand new state-of-the-art school buses that we can transport children across town so they don't have to walk through, you know, when you think about safe corridors, so that we could take them to school and home from school. But that's probably the biggest thing on the plate right now, Brother John, for everybody that the board is going to be voting on. It is critical. It is critical. We're wearing out our teachers. I mean, you know what I mean? If your class is overcrowded, the teacher can't provide the level of service to these babies that they want to provide. So we've got to address that. That right now, as far as I am concerned, you know, that's probably the top of the list. And we are, one more point. We have evaluated our technology. We acquired a grant from a foundation that must go nameless over the next 3 years. I think it's $360,000 to rebuild the infrastructure of Trenton Public Schools. And the effort is being laid by a Black organization, spending our money with our people for the betterment of the whole. So those are the two things that I'll just touch on, brother John, because, you know, I could talk about the work forever, brother.
Well, we know that, you know, even though you went to seminary, you didn't finish, but you still act like you went to seminary and you got your degree there. And, you know, we know you was the right Reverend Gene, boy. You know what I'm saying? But let me say this. This is an example, again, of the talent in the county, man. Gene, Phil, I mean, this is not just that, like myself, you know, we can all see the ball. And we can see the light shining, and it means that the hair is out the way and that the Lord's message can go straight to the brain. But at the same time, we have some really talented folks here. And I want to encourage folks, rather than, you know, see, I'm a firm believer. One of the things that my wife used to say is that she's a willing, and she's a lot like you, Janine. She's a will and a want person, right? I will do the work, but I want you to help me. Right? I want you to help me. We spend too much time pointing fingers and identifying where the problem is. And then we want to get highly emotional, but we don't want to come substantively with any solutions. We always want to point the finger because we see that there's a problem. If you see there's a problem, get involved. If you think that you can change something, make a difference. Stop whining. I say to us all the time, stop whining about what's not happening, you know what I mean, and step forward. One of the reasons that we created the Capital City Area Black Caucus is that we wanted folks to be able to hear and see not only the messages being raised, to who the messengers were, but also solutions on what needs to be done and the players who can help get it done. And everybody on this call and others who have participated all along continue to help get this done. One of the major issues going forward in the city next year, one of the major issues going forward in the city next year will be the election of a new mayor, maybe, and a new council, maybe. And so I think that part of what we wanted to do a little bit is just take a minute and not harp on it. But there's a dysfunctional relationship in the town between the mayor and council. There are going to be some changes. God bless us if folks step up who have shown themselves in their historical work of engagement in the community. Folks who have done their due diligence and done the research to understand what the issues and concerns are in Trenton. People who are authentic in terms of how they give and care about the citizens of the city. You know, and it's not just about the buzzwords of the trash and potholes and things like that. It's about doing more and being more. And we have seen just in the last 4 or 5 months, an interesting cast of characters. And I say characters because there's a cartoon or something that says, and characters are welcome. Well, I'm saying to these characters, you are welcome. We are glad that y'all are getting involved. We are glad that y'all are bringing your personalities forward. We are glad that you want to make a difference in the town. But what we're also glad about is that you are confident in your ability to make a difference. A lot of times people come forward and they're just curious. A lot of times they come forward and they're chaotic in their own life, but they think they can make a difference. And that's honorable, but that may not be the right reason to run. These folks are confident. Their background and experience have shown that they have something to bring to the table. We don't know what's going to happen. We hope the best for everybody, but I wanted to today bring some folks to the table to talk a little bit about what they see in the city, anything in terms of hindsight. And we're going to continue to do this because I think it's important to do, to hear from folks who are saying, I want to move from just being concerned to being in a position where I can make a difference. And so I've asked a couple people to come forward. I asked a number of folks to come forward. You know, this is holiday weekend prior to. We know that everybody's in the mall somewhere, and so, you know, let's just hope that those who didn't make it, the word is out there that the Capital City Area Black Caucus held our final meeting, and we're moving towards January. And I use the terms with an inspired agenda, with an aspirational agenda to make sure that the organization is more and that we can help any of you individually or collectively do more in the city. And so with that, I'm going to ask Teska, and I don't ask her because she's Sam's wife. I ask her because she's Janine's daughter-in-law. And so, and she's going to be a candidate for city council in the West Ward. And from what I understand, she is ready, she's experienced, she's qualified, and she's committed. And so, Jessica, what did you see last year, and what do you see going forward in 2022?
Good morning, John, and good morning to everyone on the call this morning. John, you know, I just send love, hugs, and kisses to you and all that is going on. And to everyone who's spoken today, I just want to say thank you. I have been taking notes like crazy. This is a wealth of information for me, so I'm appreciative of it. Last year, I'm going to just say there was a lot that went on in here in our city, and I'm the type of person that believes in no complaining about it, but just do something about it. If I don't do something about it, that means I lose my right to say anything or to do it, to complain about it. And I'm not a complainer. I believe in just stepping up and getting the work done. And if I can't do it, I'm going to get somebody to come along with me, and together somehow it's going to get done. So there was a lot that went on, and I'll start off by saying we are the capital city, and I'm going to probably be speaking that and yelling it from the rooftop. We ought to be the example of what the other cities in our state are looking at to show them what it is that we should do. What does working together look like? And we have not been setting that example. I want to get that dynamic changed. I want to make sure that our children, as far as our education is concerned, that they are learning our history, not the whitewashed history. I want them to learn our history so they learn about their pride and learning about entrepreneurship. We should be having youngsters coming out. I watched YouTube and all these other social medias, and I see 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds who are entrepreneurs, who are doing things. There's no reason for that to not come out of the city of Trenton. We have the tools here. Our children are intelligent. They just don't have all the tools that they need to assist them. So I want to see that being taught from elementary. I want to see our children getting up and showing this is what it looks like. Have them putting on those doctors' uniforms, having them put on those police officer uniforms, having them put on what it looks like to look like a president, and what does that mean to them, a business owner, and teaching that from the time that they are able to think for themselves, which means at that very early age, if we can get them there learning, okay, this is what I want to do for my business as opposed to working for somebody else, we can show the beauty of our children, our Black and brown children. Then I want to make sure that we're working on continue to building our city. We have so much history that is rich here. My husband and I talked about it for years, where there should be some type of trolley system or something where we're connecting and getting economics to show folks, this is where you go to go see here, this statue, this monument, this is where George Washington did this is where our Indian sites are here. There is so much richness, so much greatness here in the city of Trenton, but it's buried underneath all the other chaos that folks have going on in the highlighting. I want to get that highlighted. And I do want to get folks say it's an impossible task, but I believe in the impossible. Working on our taxes. City of Trenton, our taxes are way too high. We have got to work on that. We've got to do better. We can do better. And our abandoned houses, there are way too many. It's not a good feel. It doesn't feel good in our city to walk around and look at it. And we should be doing better. I want to see our city beautified, the storefronts, having us being uniformed. And that means having the ear of our governor, which I'm very grateful to say that I have been in many conversations with him. And I know with his 3.0 business, I work with him with the Gun Act. So his 3.0 program that he just enacted, that's something I work with the Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Our ADA board with getting our streets so that they are more compliant for those who are more challenged in their abilities to get up. So it's not just those who have physical disabilities, even those who have mental disabilities, they can't always navigate things. And we need to make sure that everything is equal for everyone so that everyone has access to things. Working with the Trenton Blue Wave, where we went into our city. I've heard my mother-in-law, she talked about it, where we went in, we were talking about letting those know who were formerly incarcerated last year that they could vote. It was a shocker for most people to know that if you came out of jail and you came out that day, you could be home with an ankle bracelet on, and we were letting them know you can register to vote. They don't know that, and they should know that. That isn't so many votes for our city, for our elected officials that should be going on, but they're not being told. So they're sitting around and say, voting is not for this and it's not for that. Well, it is. But when they realize that they have their rights back, all of a sudden they want to be a part of it. So those are just a few of the platforms that I want to talk about and get going. But it's not something that's new for me. I've been out there doing the work with Moms Demand Action in the city, going corner to corner into some neighborhoods that some just don't want to go into. I've been out there doing the work with the ADA board. I was the chair of the Trenton ADA board for 3 years. I have been in the city with Clara's Heart, working with our those who are less fortunate than ourselves. I've been in the community and into the projects, it doesn't matter, with the Trenton Blue Wave, doing the work and making sure that we register voters. Last year, we registered over 400 voters, and that was only about 12 of us on foot patrol. And that was in a short period of time. But going out there and making sure that folks are aware of their rights and then letting them know, giving them the information. I don't believe that I have all the answers to everybody's questions, but I will believe in sitting down, taking the questions, and then finding the answers, and then getting back to people and then getting them the correct answer. And I thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning.
Well, Cheska, that is sound thought processes. You know, as someone who is a political consultant and someone who has put many folks in the arena, I oftentimes tell my candidates, don't lie, don't BS people. If you don't have the answer, tell them you don't have the answer and you'll get back to them, because they will respect that to a higher degree than they will respect you misleading them with some nonsense. So I appreciate the authenticity of your comments and your remarks. T-Dubs, you know, not the Trenton Water Works either. Ty Wilson.
Hello.
I understand you've announced and that you're out there and you're getting ready to, you know, get at it. So what did you see last year and what do you see going forward?
Hi, can you guys hear me? I'm always
Yes.
asking. Okay, great. I have not announced as of yet, but I will be announcing shortly. I am really excited to be on this call today. Some of the things that I've heard have really made my smile even broader. I'm always smiling, right? But for the past 5 to 6 years, I have been honing in about the racial disparities inside of African-American communities across the United States of America, and definitely in the city of Trenton, since we are a Black and brown community. So I am so excited to see people piggybacking on the things that I have been saying. And what I would like to see in the city of Trenton going forward is I would like to see the council and the mayor get along. In order for us to move the city forward, we have to understand that we need to be able to put the needs of Trentonians first. We need to understand what the residents require, and we need to be able to speak on a united voice. If we cannot do that, we will continue to have the same issues that we have. There's nothing inherently wrong with Black and brown people. And when we look at communities that are Black and brown across New Jersey, they all seem to have the same thing. Poor houses, a lot of abandoned houses, low income, people who are underemployed, people who are unemployed. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that people have access, and they have real access to livable wages. They have real access to become homeowners. They have real access to an education that is going to be gainful, right? We want to make sure that people are able to buy in literally and figuratively into their communities, because without that, we're going to continue to see poverty. And I just have to say again, there's nothing inherently wrong with Black or brown people that creates the situation that we are in. We have to get to the root of the issue, which is discrimination, which is bias, which is racism. When we become employed, we sometimes see our supervisors or our managers or the people who run the agencies don't have bias blockers. So if there's a situation at work, they may not understand our employees. And because they can't sympathize with us or see us, we're the first ones hired and the first ones fired. We see police officers, someone mentioned earlier, who kill people, right? And they remain on the job. But our people are let go for very small and minor infractions. So I want to just continue the conversation about how we are all here together. Trenton is diverse. And I think that when we key into that, and we understand that we all want the same thing, which is the ability to go to work, raise our children, come home and be gainfully employed. I think that is how we turn our city around. I think that is how we understand the needs of our people. And I think when we understand those things, we can service the people. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, T. You know, first of all, a lot of y'all knew that I ran Reed's campaign in the last election for mayor. And I'm going to do it again, number one. I'm not announcing anything that y'all don't already know. But two, one of the sisters who embraced me in that conversation, I mean, I hadn't been on the job 2 days for this sister to call me and say, hey, man, I want to let you know I'm here. If anything you need, just let me know. I'm Crystal Feliciano, and I'll just do anything you need me to do. I said, who is this? I said, you need to slow down, sister. And she said, okay. My name is Crystal Feliciano. I work here and live in the city. I'm a supporter of the mayor, and I will do whatever it is that you think that I could do to be helpful. And so I really appreciated that call, because it was from a sister who, was a sister of the city. she knew that she wanted to be involved. Her cousin Jarrell, I think her nephew, was already a council person. And I said, well, why don't you take his spot? She said, nah, we're going to do a family thing. We might be there together. And then he decided not to run. And she said, well, you know, you were right. And it is going to be a family thing, but it's not going to be my family. It's going to be the Trenton family. And I want to represent everybody who is underrepresented. Like Teska and some others, I want to be a voice for the voiceless. And I said, Crystal, you sure you want to do this? She said, JB, not only am I doing it, I'm announcing soon. I'm ready to go. And she sounded like Shanae for a minute because she didn't say, I'm ready to go. She said, I'm ready to go. And so, ladies and gentlemen, would y'all please welcome this sister who's ready to go, Crystal Feliciano, who's running for Trenton Council, a good sister and a great friend. Crystal, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Is there an echo?
No.
There is an echo? A little bit? Okay. Thanks. That's good. All right. So thank you for the opportunity. John, to you, my deepest condolences. You've been in my prayers and will continue to be in my prayers. I'm so sorry. To everyone here, good morning once again. I am Crystal Feliciano. I did announce that I am running for city council at large in the city of Trenton. Last year, what we've seen thus far, last into now, has been dysfunction, disruption, right? Utter chaos and dissension in the city, mainly coming from those in council leadership, right? Now, I'm not saying the mayor has been perfect in everything that he has done, because certainly we all short in certain areas. But what I am saying is that council needs to change. Council needs to change. And the way that is by bringing good people, capable, competent, right, people to the scene who are ready and willing to do the work. So what does that mean? I do have over 26 years of audit and investigative experience. I have read municipal budgets. I have audited them. So if anyone has that question, I do have that area of expertise under my belt. And so the thing is, going to the council meetings, I'm addressing Ms. Garrett's comments in the chat, right? Because I do believe that everybody's conversation and comments are important. I'm on the council calls. I stream them live on Peterson's Breaking News of Trenton, but I'm also listening and looking at the docket. It's important that we get this right. 2022 is going to be key to the city of Trenton. We need people that are going to be able to read, that are going to be able to understand, that know what it means when different contracts are brought forward, what it means to go ahead and allow things that are going to be for the good in the order of the city to happen, right? And we need to collectively come together. We need 7 people who can work together. We don't always have to agree with each other. We can agree to disagree. We can be respectful in the process. We can be able to research and ask questions ahead of time so that if we have concerns about things, we will know ahead of time and not keep people on these calls until 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, not even getting to the business of the city until half the people have fallen asleep. That is just unacceptable. I'm here. I'm willing. I'm ready. I'm able. I'm in the streets, boots on the ground, right? I don't write a check that I can't cash. I'm here for my city. I'm here to rep everybody in the city, and I'm willing to do the work. And I'm looking forward to the next year. I'm looking forward to the run. I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say and what they bring to the table. And if you want more dialogue from me, you can contact me or my campaign manager, Lance Lopez. We could set up a chat and chew a meet and greet. We could go out and just meet and have a conversation. I'm open for that, but you'll be seeing more and definitely hearing a lot more from me in the time to come. Thank you for this opportunity.
Beechwood 4, 5789. Crystal ain't playing. I'm telling you. But none of these candidates are playing. All these candidates are very authentic. You don't run for city council in Trenton to be messing around. You just don't do that. And let me just say this: you got a year to kind of get yourself in play. As you know, the election cycle has changed. It's no longer May, June. It is now November. And so you will have to be ready to go. And for those of you who haven't done your due diligence to know the reading of the budget, so to get into meetings or to sit down and know, I mean, you can get a little bit of what's going on from the Trentonian, but that's not necessarily the best place because, as you know, the Trentonian judges whether or not page 6 equates with the front page. And so to me, it's a nonsensical approach to being able to spread the news. So part of spreading the news in Trenton is through Zooms, it's through meetings, it's through word of mouth, it's through church. And so part of what I encourage you to do is to get out there and hit every particular platform that you can, every particular opportunity to get your messaging out, every particular opportunity to make the multiple impressions, be it the phone calls, the texts, the Twitters, the lawn signs, the direct mail piece. There's been a lot that's happened in this last year. And if your message is clear, and if you are the messenger that can resonate with the people, you will get the votes, because I think Sam and others are going to try to look at how we won, and it was brought up here, how we make sure that those formerly incarcerated folks can now have an opportunity to register to vote. But it's just not them. It's those folks who are in a city of a 40,000 potential register who don't come out in significant numbers during an election. I mean, we come out in election year presidential, 28,000. In the midterm, we may come out to 18,000. And I say 28,000 because that's if Obama or a black man is running at the national level. But if not, during an off year, we may get 10, 11,000 votes. And so a mayor can be elected with 5,000 or 6,000 votes. We have to do a better job of making sure that we are cognizant of who's running our election process in the county and in the city, that if they're not doing what we think they need to do, that we account for calling them out and pointing the finger and highlighting what it is that they're not doing. But I can't say enough about all the people who have been on the call here today. So deviating from that, I want to just give a couple other folks an opportunity to say some things. Merkel, are you on this call? I saw Merkel Cherry's name. Hello? All right. I saw Cherry Garrett on here. Cherry, you said you're getting ready to do something. What is it that you're getting ready to do, sis? Anything you want to share with us? Take a couple of minutes. You were very vocal in the chat room, Cherry. What happened to you? Okay. Well then, Sam, we've had a good conversation here this morning. It looks like we don't have to hold people usually for a couple hours. But before I get you, Merkel, you finally decided to come back?
He's buffering right now, but he just came back on.
Merkel, you decided to come back?
Nah, I got kicked out.
All right.
I'm here. How you doing?
Okay. Let me just say this to you. If you don't know Merkel is former head of recreation in the city. I mean, a great guy. I know him well. He and I have worked together. I think either I worked for him or he worked for me at one point. But it doesn't matter because we got along famously. And I think that he is giving some consideration to running for council as well. So Merkel, you want to share, a little bit about what your thoughts are?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I am giving some consideration to running, and I've developed an exploratory committee. And just shortly, because I don't want to keep everybody, to let you know, I've been around the city for a long time now. Both of my children were born and raised here. I guess I've been in the city about 46 years. I know for some of you who've been here as from birth, that makes me a newcomer still, but I'm around. I've been involved, came here involved with the program with young children. Actually started out on Center Street where we were taking them to summer camp, doing some advocacy stuff for the families and tutoring. And I haven't left the city since that time. Just one of the things I know there was some conversation about what has happened in the past and what we're looking for to going forward with the city. And there are some things that happened, but there are a lot of things that didn't happen in the city. And that's what I've been focusing on, because we haven't done the things we need to do to really move the city forward in a lot of ways. And some
Merkel, give us an example. Give us a couple examples.
Well, I just don't think that because of some of the obstacles that have been generated by council, businesses that may have been attracted to cities or opportunities that businesses that have indicated interest in the city, they were turned away because of the inability to some extent to kind of get together, work with the administration, and bring some of those businesses into our folds, which would help with things like decreasing the taxes and increasing and building a stronger tax base. But one of the things I think that we really need to do, and you referenced it when you said we have over 40,000 eligible voters, and the leaders are elected with maybe 8,000 votes or 6,000 votes. What I want to do is tap into, and I will spend a lot of time doing that, the reasons that our residents don't feel like they want to participate or be involved. We have a huge voting bloc out there that's just not participating. And I don't know everything. One of the things that my grandmother told me is that if you don't know, you know what you don't know, but then know who knows what you don't know. And I expect to be involved with the people, talking to them. I will be out there. I will knock on every door. Some people may tell me to leave their porches or their stoops, but I will be there. I want to hear the decisions and the directions that the city goes in should be a direction that's determined by the residents in Trenton. I am tired of Trentonians being shortchanged. It's happened so often and so frequently. I mean, from simple things like PSE&G coming into the community and not posting notices in a timely fashion. I'm just tired of Trenton being on the short end of things. And my candidacy, and even if I'm not a candidate, I'll be involved in working to ensure that those things are different. I do believe you have to work with the administration. You don't have to work for the administration, but together the two bodies have to be able to do things and talk with each other and compromise when it's appropriate, so we can get some things done in the city.
So Merkel, we don't have to disagree, but it's how we are disagreeable is your point. And so you're absolutely right. You know, one of our CCABC members is on the call today who was supposed to speak, but he sent me a text and told me he just wasn't feeling well this morning. But as always, he's on the call. John Raines, good to see you, bro, on the Zoom room, and welcome to the listening conversation, if not the speaking conversation. Janine, anything before we wrap up do you want to share?
John, the only thing I want to share is that this has been an extremely productive setting here today. We've had some new players sign on. That is absolutely amazing. I have enjoyed listening to the candidates and their vision for the city. I'm looking forward to 2022 as we move into this new era of an election. To be mindful to the people on the call is that our election for the first time is going to be held in November, and that's going to be different. So we're looking forward to that discussion. Phil, you really did set the tone here today.
Yeah, you
some
did.
Things for us to think about moving forward. It was just amazing. I mean, there are things that we've been hearing from John and from Sam and from Jean and Tracy, who's been a little quiet today. But I have to tell you, just the way you packaged that message, I think you've given us some wonderful marching orders as we move forward next year. So it's been a great session. And, you know, we have had anywhere from 50 to 200 people on the call. But today, it just shows that these small numbers, the mighty messages that have come out of here today have been just absolutely amazing. And thank you.
Sam?
Yeah, JB. Yeah, I think Merkel's grandmama and my mama might have went to the same school because you know they said the same things, you know, to us. So you know, it's almost like every married man says, "Man, my wife must went to the same school that you went to." Let me say that this has been incredibly productive. We appreciate all of the knowledge, the brain trust that is on this call. But even more than that, we appreciate the fact that we have people that are willing to serve. You know, Dr. King said it best when he said that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. And we want the people on this call, whether you are looking at serving in office or supporting the people that are going to serve in office. We all have a part to play in this. And we will not see what we want to see in terms of Black people moving forward and gaining ground. You know, many of you were on the call a year ago when John showed the inequitable race on race, right? And if you have not seen it, go to YouTube. You can pull it up, and it talks about how we've been losing ground for over 400 years. Here's the struggle, though. Over the last 60 years, since we really started the civil rights movement, over the last 60 years, we've actually lost more ground than we lost in the earlier, 340 years. And so we have to be more vigilant, we have to be more focused, and we have to be more together than we ever have been in the past if we are going to rescind that note on Black folks in America. And so I want everyone to have an incredible holiday season. I want you guys to begin to talk with your families and spend some time regenerating, because when we come back in January, there's a larger fight that's ahead of us. And that fight only works if we are together, so I appreciate you guys, appreciate all of your time with us. John, I really want to say to you, thank you, brother, for being who you are and for setting the tone all the time. He is one of my greatest mentors. I tell people all the time, only 3 people that I talk to when I'm about to make a political decision. That's Janine LaRue, John Bailey, and Doug Palmer. I want to know what they think before I step out and make a decision. And John, the work that you put forth, even after losing your incredible better half, but you said, no, the Black Caucus still has to happen. I was going to give you a reprieve for the month. And you said, no, we need to still make this happen because this is where people get the information. Folks, we've got to do the work. And the only way that we do this work and move it forward is together. So have an incredible holiday season, an incredible new year. And we appreciate you all for what you bring to the table.
So in hindsight, what we have learned from this conversation and in review, that the way we predict the future in 2022 is to create it. Y'all have a good day. It's a Christmas song, Sam.
Really, about who?